Hello! Welcome to our channel.
Today we are going to discuss about the yellow wallpaper. And you know, Lou, that the yellow wallpaper is partly autobiographical. Charlotte Perkins Gilman wrote it after she fled from her husband with her little daughter to California.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that
And
it was.
more important than the story's similarities to Gilman's own experience is the larger issue of women's right to be creative and autonomous. And the story can be seen as advocating women's right to act and speak for themselves.
And apart from that, at the time of the story, most people believed that women were delicate and prone to madness if overstressed. And a common treatment for their presumed mental illness combined isolation, rest, and inactivity. These things cause Jane's breakdown. And at that time, it was common to remove a depressed woman from all sources of stress or sensory stimulation. And women such as Jane were separated from their children. They were kept in bed, hand-fed, bath, and also massage. And it is precisely this type of treatment that drives Jane to begin hallucinating.
And her visions of the creeping women and the women trapped behind her bedroom's wallpaper symbolize her own binding and oppression. Jane's rescuer becomes her own wallpaper prison, one that drives her insane and pushes her to assert her own rebellious selfhood. By freeing the woman from behind the wallpaper, Jane succeeds in freeing herself in a way. Sadly, she has become truly insane and will remain utterly dependent on her husband. It is significant that Jane waits to reveal her name to readers until the very last entry.
Yes, until the very end we don't know the main character's name. The publication of the yellow wallpaper had both immediate and long-term effects on women's issues. Gilman writes in her essay Why I Wrote the Yellow Wallpaper that the story was meant to save women from further suffering under the rescuer, and that her plan was successful.
She says that after her former physician, Wyatt Mitchell, read a copy of the story that she had sent to him, he altered his treatment of women with nervous disorders. Therefore, the novella served an immediate purpose in the lives of late 19th and early 20th century women.
Now, the structure of the yellow wallpaper creates a sense of immediacy and intimacy. The story is written in a journal style, a first-person narrative which includes 9 short entries.
And as regards narrative technique, the most prominent technical and stylistic feature of the yellow wallpaper is Gilman's combining of the first-person narrator and present-tense narration. By allowing readers to see only what Jane sees as she sees it, Gilman duplicates as closely as possible the feelings of entrapment, isolation, and unreality that Jane experiences.
The narrator: a young upper-middle-class woman, newly married and a mother, who is undergoing care for depression. The narrator, whose name may or may not be Jane, is highly imaginative and a natural storyteller, though her doctors believe that she is a slightly hysterical tendency.
John, the narrator's husband and her physician. Unlike his imaginative wife, John is extremely practical, preferring facts and figures to fancy, at which he scoffs openly. He seems to love his wife, but he does not understand the negative effect his treatment has on her.
Jenny is John's sister, and she acts as a housekeeper for the couple, and her presence and her contentment with the domestic role intensify the narrator's feelings of guilt over her own inability to act as a traditional wife and mother.
The subordination of women in marriage. One of the central themes of the story is gender. The narrator, a woman, is powerless against her husband, John, who determines what she does, who she sees, and where she goes while she recovers from her illness. So, let's see this theme represented in an extract of the novel itself. I sometimes fancy that in my condition, if I had less opposition and more society and stimuli, but John says the very worst thing I can do is think about my condition, and I confess it always makes me feel bad. So I will let it alone and talk about the house.
This section appears near to the beginning of the story, and it helps characterize both the narrator's dilemma and the narrator herself. Notably, the narrator interrupts her own train of thought by recalling John's instructions. Gilman shows how the narrator has internalized her husband's authority to the point that she practically hears his voice in her head, telling her what to think and what to do.
The evils of the resting cure. The yellow wallpaper is an illustration of the way a mind that is already plagued with anxiety can deteriorate and begin to prey on itself when it is forced into inactivity and kept from healthy work. To his credit, Mitchell, who is mentioned by name in the story, took Gilman's criticism to heart and abandoned the resting cure.
Beyond the specific technique described in the story, Gilman means to criticize any form of medical care that ignores the concerns of the patient, considering her only as a passive object of treatment. The connection between a woman's subordination in the home and her subordination in a doctor-patient relationship is clear. In this case, John is, after all, the narrator's husband and doctor. Gilman implies that both forms of authority can be easily abused, even when the husband and doctor means to help.
So, well, this is it. So,
we hope you like it and give a thumbs up.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.